that what they call a tape recorder?
Is that an 8-track?
It's entirely possible that that's what it's called.
Good.
What's an 8-track?
It's
Mayor.
the best side now on Facebook.
It's real.
Will you let me know? And you'll be,
Yeah. I'm sorry we didn't have a chance. That's okay.
if you need me, you're gonna have to let me know. There you go, that's perfect. If you need me, you're gonna have to let me know. You're on my left, so you can't see that.
Guys, you're in trouble, John.
Scotty Lynn,
Yes, ma'am.
thank you. Yes.
Thank you.
You got it. Okay. Good evening. It is 5:03, and we're calling the meeting of the Sanibel City Council. It is our final budget hearing this evening on Monday, October 3rd, 2022, and this is a notice budget hearing which is rescheduled from the September 28th meeting due to Hurricane Ian. So I would ask you if I could have the invocation and pledge, and I believe Mr. Henshaw, Councilmember Henshaw.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Bless us, O Lord, as we deal with this unprecedented and unparalleled event or disaster that has been inflicted on our island, our beloved Sanibel. Our hearts go out and broken as we realize that 4 lives have been lost. And however, we are blessed that all the hundreds of residents, as far as we can tell, have been rescued off the island and are safe. We pray that you give us the wisdom to deal with this disaster and give us the fortitude to withstand the months and months of work that it will take to restore our beloved island. Dear Lord, we will need everything you can provide us. We will be willing servants, and we will persevere in the coming months. Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, Councilmember. Great call. Because we have a generator issue, we do not have a microphone. Can everyone hear me all right?
Yes.
Thank you. And gentlemen, just know, we got to talk a little bit loud. So, thank you. Next up, City Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Yes, ma'am. Mayor Smith?
Here.
Vice Mayor Johnson?
Here.
Councilman Crater?
Here.
Councilman Henshaw?
Here.
Councilman Miller?
Here.
Thank you. And before we get on to item 4, I just want to take the opportunity to thank all of the staff who got this meeting ready today, who have been here pretty much 24/7, before the storm, during the storm, and right now. And we are all, as a council, so grateful to the dedication that you all have for the city. Those ones that are on the island know the work that is being done on all of your behalf to make sure our island is safe, that we can get back there, and we can get back to building the island that we love and making it as good and better as it could be. We're going to be stronger than Ian, and it's going to take all of us to do so. So thank you all. With that, I am going to turn to the budget discussion and the public hearing. Deputy City Manager Chapel, would you lead us in that, please? Art, and he is multitasking with Facebook as well, so we're all wearing a lot of hats here.
I'm probably going to be very loud for the people on Facebook right now. So on the agenda, item 4, first and foremost, the agenda memorandum that I have on there is the same memorandum that we discussed at the September 12th first budget hearing. And I will say that no numbers have been changed since that hearing. So the second link on the agenda does link back to our first budget hearing. We've left the budget at the tentatively approved budget amount of $84,029,407. We're in day 5 of the hurricane recovery, so at this point, costs are really indeterminable about how much this is going to affect the budget. So staff recommendation to council would be that they consider the budget that was presented at the first budget hearing, knowing that there will absolutely be an amendment to it once some costs become more certain and revenue effects become more certain as well.
Can I make a comment on
Yes.
that? So statutorily, we are required to pass a budget. Right now, we are not operating with a budget. So because of the hurricane, we were given a 7-day. Am I correct on that?
Correct. The budget is legally required to be adopted by September 30th. Our state of emergency allowed us to extend that 7 days from the September 28th hearing, which put us to today. But yes, we absolutely have to have a budget or we cannot continue operating.
Yeah, and understand, as he indicated, this budget is going to change significantly. But we are required to do this tonight, and that's our duty tonight. So just wanted to make that clear because it's difficult to understand with what we are facing, being here tonight passing a budget of the unknown. So thank you for making that clarification. Please go ahead.
Absolutely. Item B under agenda item 4 is the same information again that was presented at the first budget hearing. Again, by city code, the Planning Commission recommends an approval of the capital improvement plan. Again, this hasn't changed since the first budget hearing. And then, Mayor, I'll allow you to call for the readings and the votes on the final 3 resolutions, but I'll just cover them real quick. Item C will be approving the actual ad valorem millage rate. The budget is prepared at an operating millage rate of 1.9750 mils. And then the 2 debt service millage rates are adopted as well. Item D would adopt the actual final budget of $84,029,407. And then item E would establish and budget the disaster reserves and the environmental initial reserve for fiscal year 23.
Thank you, and I think we're going to go forward with item 4B, which is the recommendation from the Planning Commission Capital Improvement Project. CIP review, that's our subcommittee under the Planning Commission. They do review our capital improvement lists that are in the budget, so that way we're looking at those in conformance with our Sanibel plan and how we do our business within the city. So I know you all have the memos in front of you. I would entertain a motion and a second for discussion.
I move we accept the recommendation of the Planning Commission with respect to the capital improvements project review.
Second.
We've got a couple of moves and a couple of seconds. So hearing that, any further conversation at council? Seeing none, I'm going to look to the public on that item. Seeing none, we'll bring it back up to council. Scotty Lynn, if you could please call that question.
Mayor Smith?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Johnson?
Yes.
Councilman Crater?
Yes.
Councilman Henshaw?
Yes.
Councilman Miller?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. We are moving on to 4C, and that, Attorney Agnew, could you read that resolution into the record for us, please?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. City of Sanibel Resolution Number 22-050, a resolution adopting the final operating and voted debt service ad valorem millage rates for tax year 2022 for the City of Sanibel, Florida, and providing an effective date.
Thank you. Gentlemen, any further discussion from Mr. Chapel?
Mayor, there are 2 blanks on that resolution.
Thank you.
The first blank should be filled in at 1.9750. The second blank is 17.6%.
I would entertain a motion and second for discussion on that item.
I'll move resolution 22-050 with the blanks filled in at 1.9750 and 17.6% respectively.
Second.
Thank you. Further conversation at council? Seeing none, I'm going to look to the public on that item. To my right? Yes. Mr. Congress.
For the Congress, Sanibel resident.
Speak loudly, the microphone doesn't
Oh, you're
work.
right. Doug Congress, Sanibel resident. So I'm not sure if this is the best time to bring up or this inquiry, but with regards to reserves and line of credit, can you give us a feel for, and shame on me for not being more involved with the budget process until now, but can you give some comfort or understanding to us as to the reserves that we currently have with the city, and if we have an available line of credit to help us get through some of the short-term cash crunch that inevitably we're going to have?
Thank you, and I'm going to turn to the city manager on that item. Deputy. Okay. All right, so I'm not.
I bet Steve can do it.
Yeah, I can do it.
I know it's a mouthful.
So,
Deputy dog.
give me 1 minute to pull up. So we have, so the budget includes disaster reserves of $4.5 million. That's the amount of reserves that we have budgeted historically for several years. It also includes $1 million in environmental reserves in the general fund. Again, an amount we have budgeted for several years and replenished when we have dipped into it. Also in the general fund, there is a little over $2.8 million that is left unappropriated. So I fully expect all three of those amounts will be either appropriated from ending fund balance or reappropriated out of the reserves into operating expenses for recovery for the hurricane.
And then, Steve, do we still have a line of credit with the bank?
We do not. So that line of credit expired last year. It is available for I haven't determined yet what that amount would be, but it was a fairly simple process we did. But that current one we did have, we opened up for Hurricane Irma and it expired. We never drew down on that line of credit during Irma.
Steve, can you just, for the public, give the number that line of credit was established for?
It was established for $5 million at the time. And at the time we had, again, $4.5 million of disaster reserves. Hurricane Irma cost the city a little over $4.5 million. So we did not have to draw down that line. So.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And I'm giving some latitude on having the exchange back and forth because it's really important information right now as we're all treading into the unknown. So thank you for that. So continuing on my right-hand side, any further questions on the item? On my left-hand side. Seeing none, if we could come back and call that question. Before we do call that question for my conversation, I'm very torn. It was very clear for me when we thought we were going into a recession that I was firm on the 1.8922. And I am still concerned now that we are going into the unknown, that this is a concern for me. So I am going to have to say no to this. But certainly will support whatever my council members come through with. Thank you. That's my conversation.
Madam Mayor, I did note one minor Scrivener's error on each of these four resolutions. They were prepared in preparation for a meeting that would have been the 28th of September. They should reflect the third day of October. So
on the documents?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So that's an easy correction.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Anything further from the council? Seeing none, Scotty Lynn, could you call that question, please?
Mayor Smith,
No.
Vice Mayor Johnson,
Yes.
Councilman Crater,
Yes.
Councilman Henshaw,
Yes.
Councilman Miller.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on. We are on 4D, correct?
Correct.
Thank you. City Attorney, please.
Yes, ma'am. City of Sanibel Resolution 22-051, a resolution adopting the final budget for the fiscal year ending September 30, 2023 for the City of Sanibel, Florida, and providing an effective date. And again, on a motion, address the date change, please.
Thank you. I would entertain a motion on that item with the date change.
I move that we adopt Resolution 22-051.
Mayor, there's a blank on there to fill in.
Thank you.
The blank should be filled in $84,029,407.
I amend my motion to include $8,429,407.
407.
Thank you. Do we
Sorry,
have
he
a
said
second?
429, wasn't it? 029.
840294007.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Do I have a second on that?
Second.
Okay. Further discussion? To the public. On my right-hand side, over to my left. Okay, seeing none, we will come back to council. No further comments. Please call that question.
Mayor Smith,
No.
Vice Mayor Johnson,
Yes.
Councilman Crater,
Yes.
Councilman Henshaw,
Yes.
Councilman Miller.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on. We are now on item 4D. City Attorney.
City of Sanibel Resolution 22-052, a resolution establishing committed fund balances in disaster reserve and environmental initiative reserve for the City of Sanibel and providing for an effective date. Same date change request, please.
Thank you. I would entertain a motion with that same date change.
So moved.
I'll second that. Any further conversation at council? Seeing none, I'll go to the public, to my right-hand side, coming to my left. Bring it back and we'll call that question, please.
Mayor Smith,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Johnson,
Yes.
Councilman Crater,
Yes.
Councilman Henshaw,
Yes.
Councilman Miller.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item on our business is number 5, old business. City Attorney, could you read that resolution, please?
Yes, ma'am. City of Sanibel Resolution 22-053, a resolution pertaining to the Sanibel Board of Trustees of the Municipal Police Officers Retirement Trust Fund, ratifying the 2 trustees elected by the police officers participating in the plan and providing an effective date. The date is correct on this one.
The date is correct. And the recommended action is to adopt Resolution 22053, ratifying the results of the Municipal Police Officers Pension Plan Board of Trustees election, electing Corporal Matt Casola to seat 1 and Officer Christopher Chappie to seat 2. I would entertain a motion on that item, please.
I move resolution 22053.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Thank you. Any further conversation at council? Seeing none, I will look to the public. On my right-hand side, on my left-hand side, coming back up. Could you call that question, please?
Mayor Smith,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Johnson,
Yes.
Councilman Crater,
Yes.
Councilman Henshaw,
Yes.
Councilman Miller.
Yes.
Thank you.
Very good. That pretty much closes the budget portion of our agenda, so that was quick. And I know that many of you are here for our not so new business, which is Hurricane Ian. I am going to turn this over to the city manager, as I know that he has been working diligently all day in preparation for today. City Manager Souza, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor and council members. So since the storm, we've been providing daily updates on our progress in cleanup of the storm, and also the number of residents that have been evacuated and the conditions that we face on the island. Because staff and I were working on a return plan for residents, I have not been able to provide an update today, but I am going to ask others who are here to provide an update about the work that they've completed today and where they stand. So first I would ask our Deputy Public Works Director, Scott Krozak, to come and give us an update, which would include an update about road clearing, our utility system, and facilities.
Okay. Mayor, Vice Mayor, City Council, my name is Scott Kroslick, Deputy Public Works Director. And, City Public Works crews continue to clear debris from roadways. Public Works goal is to open access to at least 1 lane of traffic. I mean, these roads aren't going to be fully open, but they'll be safe access for, emergency responders. So today's big accomplishments, we completed clearing Beachview subdivision, Chateau Samare subdivision, and Crowder Gulf is on their way to the island. I mean, barges were just off island with equipment. So once Crowder arrives on the island, they will take over that first push and complete the roadways that we haven't completed, and then go back through the entire island to, clear all the roadways. So once the first push is complete, Crowder Gulf will then begin hauling debris by cubic yard. So also we've had city utility staff at the Donix plant. So they continue to assess equipment, and they're working on process enhancements because of low flows, so we keep the biological process going. We're also working to get some of our specialty vendors on the island so they can be looking at some of the equipment at our plant that is not running, just things that city staff, they don't have the ability to fix. So that's kind of where we stand today.
And just before Scott leaves, I want to thank him and his team for the incredible amount of work that they've done with a limited amount of equipment that's been available to them, and it's been really monumental work. They have had the help of Ding Darling crews, of some fire crews in this work, and everybody has worked in a unified position to get this work completed. Crowder Gulf, as Scott mentioned, is our contracted emergency response contractor. So they have been mobilizing for the last couple of days in order to get barges here so they could begin moving equipment onto the island. Yeah. That first bit of equipment has been moved onto the island.
Well, to give you an idea, so I was out this morning, and with the storm, there's no channel markers anymore. So the challenges we faced, one of the first Crowder barges ran aground on a shoal, so they have to try to dig themselves out to get themselves here. So every step of the way is a challenge. And but I do believe the first equipment is here, and I've been told tomorrow they're gonna get rolling to assist the public works staff, which we need. We need the help at this point. So.
Thank you, Scott. And if you could stay there just to help me fill in.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Just a real quick question, Scott. Thank you very much for all the hard work you guys are doing. Are they loading at Punta Rasa?
Yes.
That's okay. I saw a lot of heavy equipment go over there. They're being staged there right now. As soon as the barge comes
they
up.
are. I mean, Crowder has a staging area somewhere else, but they are loading at Punta Rasa, and the county is also. I was at a meeting this morning. It's a very crude loading area now. I mean, it's got to be heavy equipment because it's very rough access, but the county has hired Andrews Site Work and Kelly Brothers. So Andrews Site Work will be building a road. Kelly Brothers will be building a kind of a landing site that's more, I don't want to say permanent, but it could be for the near future, and that's where we'll be loading equipment from there.
And then off island or on island, they're going to be doing the city dock?
Yes, it'll be adjacent, like just east of the Marine Patrol dock, kind of where we've done dredge operations in the past.
So it'll be a beach landing?
There's supposed to be a facility built there too, but as of right now, they can do a beach landing. These barges have ramps that can drop down, and there's access to get into the boat.
For your best estimate, they're going to be in the ground tomorrow?
Yes, I mean, I saw a barge just off island this morning. I said they had a little issue with the running aground, but there was equipment on that barge. They should be.
Did they run aground right by the Punta Rasa turn, or where?
Yes.
Okay, I know where, because I think there'll be a little bit, before I came into the meeting, I did speak with Jim Frey. I haven't had a chance to speak, and they were looking at an alternative site.
Yeah.
There might be a comment on, and then there was light. There might be a comment on that.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know if things shifted with the storm. There's always been a low area there,
I know.
but without the markers, I can't blame a
Got it.
captain that's not familiar
Thank you.
with.
I just want to add to this, and maybe we could get through the update, and
Yes, sir.
then we'll take questions. Scott mentioned the idea of a permanent barge. We're going to have to get used to this. We're not going to have a bridge. I'll have a brief update on some what the Florida DOT is doing, but I'm sorry, my phone rings in my hearing aids. It's a big distraction. So that's something that we're going to have to get accustomed to, and facilities will have to be provided both on the mainland and on the island so we can receive equipment initially for this emergency service, and then as we begin reconstruction. So it is something that we have to look into both from a temporary perspective and then from a long-term perspective. We know that that's going to be necessary. We also, you may have seen or heard that there are other barges that have been on the island. FWC has also provided a barge. They loaded some equipment that they needed on the island, and yesterday moved some of the police vehicles back on the island for us, which we desperately needed for our police personnel that have been out there 24/7 for the last few days. So we're grateful for that. We know that we've also had lots of options of people to provide barges. we are working to act to make sure that all of the barge access for emergency use initially goes through Crowder Gulf. That's the easiest for us to manage. I also want to say that, you don't do this alone. The city of Sanibel is too small to do this kind of an operation alone, and we've worked very closely with Lee County and with all of the agencies that staff the Lee County Emergency Operations Center. It really is a unified front. The meeting that Scott discussed today was called by the county to make sure that barge access would be available on the for island access, not just here, but to the other barrier islands that are stranded. So I just wanted to say that. Thank you, Scott. Do you have anything?
I do not.
Okay.
Thank you,
Great.
Scott.
Thank you, Scott. Next on my list is the Sanibel Fire and Rescue District. I'm not sure if Chief Bill Briscoe has arrived yet. If not, we'll move to the Island Water Association. Diana Wilson is the general manager, and she has been working hard on the island with her team.
Welcome, Diana.
Thank you. Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Council, Diana Wilson, General Manager of Island Water Association.
Can everyone hear okay?
No.
Yeah, we got to, and you can talk towards.
Okay.
It should work, yeah.
Yeah.
Should.
Skyline, I don't think
Shoulda, coulda, wouldas.
Skyline, I don't think the board's on.
Okay, well, I don't know how to turn it on. I can project.
Yes,
Not a
please.
problem.
Thank you.
Okay, we've had busy days at the Island Water Association, but productive days. As the city manager described yesterday, we were able to get stored water to first responders at Fire Station 1, Public Works to PD at City Hall, and the Rec Center, the maintenance, LCE maintenance. Today, we were able to extend that stored water service down Periwinkle to get the Dawn X wastewater treatment plant water availability. So that was a big push from our distribution crews to be able to pressurize that line. Also, we're excited that we were able to bring our RO treatment plant up on generator power and run 2 trains of RO and 2 wells. We're now producing 900 gallons a minute of water and storing that, adding to our stored water capacity, which is more than what's needed by those who have water or have water service right now. So filling those tanks, that sets us up for the next stage as we increase the distribution system size and get more and more streets open over the next weeks and months. We'll be able to use that stored water to not only pressurize the line to make sure that it's maintaining its pressure and in good shape. We can also use it to flush out water and keep that water high quality. Not potable, won't be potable for some time, but at least water service for some basic sanitation. So that's where we're at right now.
Great job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Is Chief Briscoe? No. So next, I'd like to ask Tricia Dorn, who's representative at LCEC, to provide an update on their work and assessment to date.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the public. Tricia Dorn with LCEC. City Manager, thank you. I know you've been communicating on our behalf the last couple nights. I apologize if some of this has been repetitive, that's what you've already said. We have we brought some men on the island just a few days ago, working with the city staff to ensure that the pushing was safe. In case there was any generators on the island, that there wouldn't be any issues with that. Obviously, the substation is de-energized to Sanibel and Captiva. The good news is it did not sustain a whole lot of damage at the substation. However, there is a lot of broken poles on the island that will need to be replaced and rebuilt. It almost looks like a full rebuild around Sanibel Island. Our guys out there are providing feedback that the area around the school and the rec center, oh, there you go, you're on. Great, thank you. Around the school and the rec center, it looks
Cut off. Cut out. High five you quickly.
It's okay. I can keep talking. Can you guys hear me in the back of the room okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
When you're facing this way.
Okay, all right. So around the Sanibel and the rec center, it appears as though that may be one of the first places that we may be able to bring power, if it could be used for staging or whatever the city may need to use it for.
We're assessing how much material that we're going to need over. We're also working with getting some barges because unfortunately we lost our entire fleet. None of our bucket trucks and our trucks have sustained damage. So when we get a barge, we're going to have to bring over material and the bucket trucks to have these guys start working on the island. We are a little bit away from that because, as you know, they're either walking, and we have been working with the fire department to give us access to a vehicle. It's just a very slow-going process when we don't have all the materials that we need, what they're used to using to, bring your restoration, to bring your power back. So I'm going to continue to work with the city staff and the mayor and council, and I'll continue to give you updates as we get it. But do know that we are on the island every day. It's actually the lineman who works out there every day, Kent. Some of you may be familiar with him. So he is a familiar guy on the island, and our substation personnel is out there. And as we can, we will bring more. Thank you.
And Tricia, just to clarify, the fleet that Tricia referred to is the fleet that is kept on the island to provide services.
Okay.
So they do have assets that are off island that need to be brought on island. And we have talked a number of times about the use of the Crowder Gulf barge as soon as they load their equipment on, and some of the other public works equipment that we need on the island. And then we'll work with LCEC to move their assets onto the island so they're not waiting. If there's a delay in getting their barge, we can begin moving that equipment for them.
Very good. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tricia.
Is Chief Briscoe here yet? No? Okay.
No, he's not.
I'll continue to move on. So just to touch on the bridge very briefly, today the DOT District Secretary and I talked, and we have talked a couple of times, and he told me that the county, Lee DOT and Florida DOT are working together to do the inspections on the bridge, and then Florida DOT is working to develop a plan on what the construction for elements of the bridge will be. And he wanted to stop short there. They're looking at options to provide the construction of the bridge elements that need to be repaired, especially on the spoil islands. I want to, in addition to what Scott said about our sewer system, today the Lee County Manager's Office informed us that the state is agreed to pay for Tetra Tech, which is a local engineering firm, to provide inspection of the city sewer system and the sewer system across the damaged area, and develop a plan for temporary repairs that will be needed to make the system functional. So that will be underway, I believe, pretty quickly. That's the direction from the governor's office. Our staff has already completed some assessment by having Tetra Tech available, and their ability to get equipment here quickly will really be very important for us to restore that sewer service in advance of needing that transmission. And I mentioned Crowder Gulf already. Chief Briscoe has just walked in. Chief, I know that you've been running here, but it would be your turn to provide an update if you're ready to do that, or if you need a minute, I can jabber on and let you take a drink.
Dana?
Yes, ma'am.
We also, Commissioner Wayne is in the
Yes,
room,
maybe
as
we-
well
I'm
as
sorry.
John Lai. He snuck in, but I don't know.
Would you like
He
Commissioner
doesn't sneak in,
to
so
Ruane to provide
that would be great.
comments, and then we can go to Chief
Commissioner, would you
Briscoe.
mind coming up and giving us a Lee County update? Thank you.
Happy to. Good evening, Madam Mayor, City Council, City Manager, folks. I'm Lee County Commissioner Kevin Ruane. So as the City Manager had indicated, we signed a letter of understanding, a memorandum of agreement with the County Department of Transportation. I think keynote with that is the Department of Transportation will pay for the bridge, whatever solution they come up with. So that obviously is really important. Also, Kevin Guthrie came in today. Kevin Guthrie is in charge of emergency management for the entire state. He has check writing authority for anything that we need, so anytime we ask, that's exactly what he does. We have all the partners in. Also, General Campbell came in from the Army Corps of Engineers. So there's Colonel Booth, there's someone from Atlanta, and he runs the entire operation. He's there today. We met him, talked about the issues. They're also going to provide support to do inspections on the bridge. So they want to understand exactly what it is, the scenarios that I was taught at 3:30 this afternoon. There'll be 4 different scenarios that they're looking at. I think it's really important to understand we had a situation, and I'm not going to try to compare Pine Island to your bridge at all, but we had a situation in Pine Island, for the folks to know, that obviously had a compromise. They're in the process of rebuilding that, restoring that. That'll be done by Saturday, October 8th. So that is significant because of the solutions and the bandwidth that we're bringing to the table, from the federal to state to local agencies. So it's a situation that is rapidly changing. I can't begin to tell you how often we get updated, how often things take place. So we just look at the major issues, and the bridge is important to you all. We understand that. So once we understand that option, we can then talk about other options, if it's waterway, when we know timeframes that we're looking at. We want to support you in every way possible. That's what we're here for. I talk to the mayor sometimes 2-3 times a day, sometimes 8 times a day. We're here to try to help in any way we possibly can. The resources are just here to try to put this together. FP&L has agreed to support and give any type of support they need. There's other carriers that are coming here to help LCEC as far as power is concerned, as far as water and sewer. You heard about Tetra Tech. That was approved today. We're going to continue to look at those options as far as that's concerned. We're working with the 3 carriers, both Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile, to try to come up with creative ways to connect Wi-Fi, so you'll have those capabilities. I had boots on the ground. I started initially on Thursday. I did a flyover. Yesterday I was boots on the ground on Sanibel as Captiva, understanding the devastation, so I could report back and try to look at the situations. You know, let's remember today is day 5 of this situation that we're in. So this is a situation that we're going to continue to work with you, continue to utilize the resources. I've talked with the mayor. I've reached out to the Florida Association of Counties. They're working with the Florida Association of Cities to advocate to make sure that we actually have funding. So funding runs from the FEMA federal office to the state, and the state's actually going to be writing the checks. We're asking for 120 days. The longest in any event so far has been 60 days of that. The reason why 100% reimbursement is so important is when you get below that, it starts to become a real financial challenge. The longer we could obviously have that, we've continued to talk to the governor. Both the senators were in today, both Rubio and Scott. Again, just trying to help in any assistance we can. We're trying to have the advocacy. So anyone that knows anyone, we're going to try to continue to try to make sure Congress understands the severity of the situation and the fact that we need to continue to have FEMA be there to have the resources that are necessary. We certainly are trying to help in any way that we possibly can. I think that's really important because the financial stability is going to be key with FEMA being there. So we want to understand exactly what we can there, and that's so important. Those are the major things that I can certainly say. I'll pause if you want to ask any questions or whatever, however you want to do this. It's your meeting.
Yeah, I think we're good. Thank
Wonderful,
you
thank
so
you.
much for the update. Appreciate it very much.
Can I ask the commissioner a question?
Of course, yep.
Because and I'll follow
Yep.
Councilman
Go ahead.
Henshaw. Please.
Yeah.
Well, Commissioner, first of all, I want to thank the county for all the great work and all. You guys have been day in, day out for the last 4 or 5 days. We really appreciate all the work. Question I have is the county contemplating some sort of temporary ferry system to go back and forth up to the island?
There's certainly alternatives being drafted as we speak. We don't know what the bridge looks like, so we really aren't going to go into that phase yet until obviously, and we have experts like the Army Corps of Engineers helping us. I assure you, as soon as that is looked at and obviously the solution, we'll come up with alternatives.
Okay.
And the governor has spoken to us on that fact as well. But
Good.
what he just laid out right now is the most important thing that they were trying to get done to see what's going to be happening with the bridge to get that forward. Yep.
Absolutely, and I can't stress enough the Army Corps of Engineers being here because they deal with tragedies. And unfortunately, they've seen every event possible. And to see the general who actually heads up the Army Corps of Engineers, and there's 38,000 people that are part of the Army Corps of Engineers, to give the bandwidth that they bring to this table is fascinating. The other thing is every time you have an opportunity to use another agency or have them write a check, it's less that we have the financial responsibility on. So the fact that DOT is going to pay for the Pine Island Bridge, the fact they're going to pay for the Sanibel Bridge, again, it's one less thing we have to worry about. It's less paperwork. Director Chapel certainly doesn't have to go through those things. Our director, obviously Pete Whitman, doesn't have to do those either. The other thing that I did want to say, we left, and I raised here, as soon as we got out of our meeting, we're going to institute the daily phone calls with all the municipalities. It's too fluid a situation and things are constantly changing. We want to make sure you understand the very latest and greatest of what we have. If you come over, and the mayor has, to the operations center, there's probably 250 people there right now. It is a zoo, and I don't mean that in a disrespectful way, but the amount of bandwidth that's being thrown at this, Governor's been here almost every day to try to indicate his support in those regards. So I can't emphasize that enough. Yes, City Manager.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner. And I do want to say that the daily, as you have talked with the mayor, I just want to thank the county first for the excellent communication that we've had between the county manager's office and our administration. It has been daily, like you, sometimes a dozen times a day. But the question that was asked of me just before I came downstairs was, did we have any information about utility restoration with FPL on the mainland and then the availability of gas? So I'm sorry to spring that on you, but you might know.
Not a problem. I got an update from FPL. We're 71% connected. On the areas that can be connected, so that's not the Barrier Islands, if FPL provides services like in Boca Grande, some of the compromised areas. They anticipate, and they've made a promise by Wednesday, they'll have all of FPL outside the Barrier Islands at 95% restored. They're also, obviously trying to help resources necessary to try to help us restore. I met with their COO. He's assured us that he'll do whatever possible to try to partner and give whatever necessary help we have in those regards. What was the second part of your question?
Gas stations related to the power.
Yep, so we're trying to designate a couple of gas stations for first responders, for municipalities. We're trying to work with the governor's office, so there's a particular location designed just for elected officials. We're concerned about the amount of gas and propane that's necessary because propane is just as important. So we're trying to coordinate those efforts as quickly as we possibly can. The good news is when I came here, more and more stations are opening up. Our county offices will be open tomorrow, so we'll be fully staffed there. We're going to move a lot of the other personnel to help with the questions. I just want everyone to realize that let's deal with facts because there's so many rumor mills going out there. The rumor mills out, in there. So I just want to try to do that. I am available. Obviously it's easy to contact my office, whatever we can do. It's really I'm here for one reason only, to help you and show you that we are a united force. We're one thing. I serve this community. Sanibel's in my heart. It certainly is where I learned to govern, and I want to continue to help in any way I possibly can.
And we've gone through a lot in the last, we're day 5 of one of the most major storms of the century. So now we're starting to get our gears together, get working, but it took getting to where we are today to be able to move forward. So thank you. We really appreciate it. And I know that we're going to continue to work together. And thank you very much for the partnership.
Thank you.
Now, I'm sorry, I'm going to let the gentleman, we're going to give some leniency here since we have the commissioner. Sir.
Thank you. Just trying to get a handle on what is the communication strategy? Because I recognize it's day 5 and it's early, but at the moment it's quite difficult to get the facts that you just mentioned.
So,
and it doesn't seem to me that the town, the city, and the county are yet coordinated, which is understandable. But what is the plan to get to a point where we feel like we've got a single command center, joint operations, and a clear communication path to residents and people that need to know?
So we're trying to obviously develop that bandwidth exactly as you're looking for. Lee County obviously gives updates, and we try to do that. You have to recognize we're not trying to do anything other than supplement the city council and their message. We want to certainly have our message that's available too, because obviously there's just things that happen that are going to help and support them. Okay, so their updates and why it's so important that we communicate, and why I said tomorrow we'll start that communication on a daily basis, because Diener, the mayor, may actually talk to a county person and it's 2 o'clock. We have an update at 3:30. We want to make sure you have the latest and greatest. We're developing this on the fly, and I don't mean any disrespect at all. This is day 5 of the largest tragedy we're ever going to see in our lives. So we're trying to do this as best we can to communicate. The first couple of days, we were search and rescue. Okay, as your former mayor, I can't tell you the number of people we had to search and rescue. That was where the effort was there. So in day 5, let's understand that 2 of the days were search and rescue predominantly. So it's just hard to continue to make sure. And I understand your frustration. My family doesn't have, Wi-Fi either, connectivity. We're trying to understand this. And I can't even update the mayor quick enough because we're both in meetings, we're sitting down, we're having conversations. So I think the most important thing is that update. We're trying to have it as late in the day as possible. It hasn't been determined, so we can do that. We're even talking about potentially having 2 updates in a day. One in the morning, one in the afternoon, to try to give you the latest and greatest. It's just a very fluid situation, and I can't stress enough how fluid it is. So what you might hear at 12, by 3:30, it's as old as it is. And unfortunately, that's what this situation is.
Yeah, and if I could add to that, what we have been doing, from the time we got the boots on the ground, the first day, we were doing our job as a city of what needed to be done under the police department, under the Sanibel Captiva Fire and Rescue, and Public Works. So we were doing the jobs that needed to be done so we can get to the point where we are having the coordination we need to get the rest of the job done. And so that's where we are. So we have been unified, but we've got our things that we've got to get done, and they've been getting done. And as I said yesterday, when I was meeting with those, the teams that were out there, they said they have never seen such a disaster, and they have never seen such progress in the few days that we were out there. So be assured, we're getting the things done to get you all back to the island to see your homes. And we're going to be walking lockstep because we have to. If we don't work as a community, then there's a lot to lose, and we're not going to let that happen. Yeah.
Mayor, I'll just add on the communication side. If you look at the communication that went out pre-storm, both from the county and the city, there was excellent communication going to residents. That was ramped up very quickly, as quickly as we could. The county has more assets, and I would encourage people to, if you haven't subscribed to their news releases, that you do. And we have had a gap in that area. Our PIO will be back in the office tomorrow, but we have provided daily briefings at 6:30 through Facebook Live so we can make sure that our residents understand the information. And the last bit that I'll say is that while you might not all see it, there is excellent communication between the city and the county and the other agencies that are there. Is that I can call our representative at the EOC and tell them that I need something, and it will be a county staff member, a FEMA representative, the Coast Guard, whomever it is that we ask to talk with, that person is back on the phone within a short period of time. And I do want to echo what Commissioner Ruane said about how fast things change. While we had to test the channel for the barge today, and we knew that we were going to have a guinea pig, where would that go? The county at the very front end of this said, we're concerned about debris that fell off the bridge. We think we have that location. Army Corps of Engineers came in to begin a sonar survey of that area, but it still required a test. But the coordination is there, and you'll see that better communicated in the coming days.
One other last thing I just want to indicate, I think it's really important. I know everyone wants to get to their homes. The waterways are really dangerous. As I had indicated, I went by water yesterday. Coming back, we actually blew a motor. We hit something in the waterway, and I've had the sheriff's detail doing this with GPS and everything else, and we still ran into that issue. Thank God Fish and Wildlife was out there. They picked me up very quickly. But I'm just trying to indicate you cannot even fathom the amount of debris and the toxicity of the water out there. So I'm just encouraging people, please be careful. The situations are not necessarily navigable, and I know everyone gets to their home, but the less traffic to let people get their stuff on, and I'm not trying to keep you away from your homes, trust me. It's just a dangerous situation. Our safety, your welfare is our concern, and I just want to echo that. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Commissioner. We'll be talking soon, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
I believe John Lye also wanted to get up.
Sure, we'll go with John Lye, who is president of the Sanibel Captiva Chamber of Commerce.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Welcome, John.
Is this on? Yep. Thank you very much, City Manager and the Council. We appreciate you and all of your efforts. We know that this is no small undertaking, and the search and rescue has been nothing short of amazing. We had a team member that was left that chose to stay with her husband, and to know that she is safe. It's because of your efforts and your staff's efforts, and so I want to say thank you first and foremost for everything that you and your team have done. I also want to say thank you to the county. I've been on the phone a lot with the county and the city lately, as well as the state. We are working right now to secure some office space, not necessarily because I need a desk, but because we really want to get the Small Business Association's representative situated so that our businesses can get back in order without having to worry about where the funding is coming from, and to give them a central location. We are looking right now at a couple different areas, a couple different spaces, but they will be very central to Fort Myers and Sanibel. Once we also get that, I also wanted to mention, Madam Mayor, before I forget, we did have a conversation with the Marriott prior to coming here, which is why I was a little bit late, I apologize, at Crowder Gulf. They are working to secure a space on that beach so that they don't have to navigate that channel coming out of Punta Rasa. So we're working with Crowder Gulf, we're working with our members to try to accommodate whatever we can with the city. So thank you very much for thinking of us with that challenge. A couple different things. We've worked with like I said, the county's Office of Economic Opportunity and DEO from the state. We will make sure that we push out information to you as funds become available and small business loans open up. There is an economic survey that's out there right now. If you've got it, we sent it out last week. Please take it. The sooner we get those returned, the sooner we can get these opportunities out there for everyone. I think that's it. One thing that we are working with the banks with on the island is getting them out there to remove the assets that they have right now. Once that is taken care of, we will communicate that back to you as well.
Very good. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, John.
I think Chief
Chief
Ganser.
Briscoe?
Dana, we lost the mic, so speak back up.
I can put it down. That's okay, I can speak loud. All right, from day one, we accommodated some boats, got out there, cleared our way to our station, started setting up base camp, and then we started moving people on. The officers and a couple public works people came with us. We took some of the public works equipment and cleared our way to our station. Then from there, we started search and rescue. So first day, search and rescue was a little hit and miss. But then as we went along, we had a team come in from task force, the USAR team 1 and task force 2 came in, and they started helping us do our search. Then after that, we had a team come in that was actually doing searches as well as damage assessments. Did you talk about those? Not yet, but I will.
Okay. So this team, luckily for me, this team came in, and luckily for you all, they came in, and as they were doing search and rescue, they were doing damage assessments one by one for each property they came to. This will be shown up on a map as soon as we can transfer the data. It shows every point on the island of every house. Basically, it shows the damage to the house and how much damage and if it's livable or not livable. I hate to tell you, there's a lot of places that are not livable. You have places that are off their foundation, and it is very dangerous out there. There are alligators running around, there are snakes all over the place, and things are just, everything you can get caught on, you can get caught on. Day 2 ended pretty well. We completed a lot of our search and rescue except for the end of the island past Rabbit Road. We couldn't get past Rabbit Road, and then we couldn't get down East Gulf. And so we couldn't check the east end because of course, the small bridge had failed just before the marina. So as day 3 came around, we got some bigger equipment. Your public works got bigger equipment started for us so that we could move stuff around. We were able to search part of East Gulf better, but not all the way around. That didn't start happening until day 4. And we cleared with the help of Ding Darling. Ding Darling did an amazing job. They're federal people, even though they weren't tasked for it, they helped us out. And they started clearing Sandcap Road.
Sandcap Road is technically passable, but in a car, it's not technically passable because you'll have a flat tire before you even get to Rabbit Road. There's so many things in the road that driving around is almost impossible unless you have a truck or one of the side-by-sides that we're using. Today, I can tell you that we probably have 100% of the damage assessment done. We have 100% of the search and rescue done. And we're starting on our secondary searches for houses. Now, when I say 100% of primary searches, basically that's a knock and yell. We go to the door, we knock and yell. When we do our secondary searches, it comes down to very simple. When you have the smells, you break into the house. So we have had 4 deaths. We've had 3 fires. 3 homes have been burned to the ground. We have no ability to do fire suppression at this time. We have one vehicle, we have one engine on the island, has 750 gallons of water. That's the only firefighting apparatus we have. We're in the process of getting our LNTV over, which is our brush truck, which is as you've seen, it's a military vehicle, but it only holds 500 gallons of water, and it's typically not made for fire suppression, it's made for brush fires. But that's gonna be our 2 apparatus for a while. One, we can't get our apparatus down the road. It's just not possible. The roads are still not cleared enough to get those things done. Hopefully tomorrow, there's a crew coming out from the feds that will help clear the areas where the power lines are. The only water on the island is to our station. Thank you, IWA. But we still don't have sewer from our station, so basically anything we're using the water for is outside. It's not for Nicholas or anything like that. IWA, they're gonna get our station 2 with water, but it will do us no good. Our station 2 has had 3 foot of water in it. So station 2, the restoration crew's there, they're tearing it apart. I don't know what it's gonna be like at the end because it's very badly damaged. Our station 1 had 4 inches of water in it from end to end. There's a restoration, we brought our own restoration crew out with us and got them started, and they have been trying to get everything cleaned up for us to go back to normal operating procedures. As of now, we're only running 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And the reason is we can't put people out there with no toilets and no ability to get around. It's just, we would not be running at night anyways. It's just too dangerous. Does anybody have any questions?
Question with regard to, you said there's going to be...
Barry, speak up a little bit. Barry, speak up a little bit.
Speak up.
And state your name, please.
Barry Roth for the record.
Thank you, Mayor. Chief, with regard to the map you're going to put forth of the images of damage to houses, is that term broad that includes condominium buildings, or will it strictly be houses?
It includes every property on every building that's on the island.
Thank you.
I'll talk about that when I get into my next set of comments.
Anybody else?
Does that include businesses too, or just?
Yes, sir.
Every structure on the
And
island.
where will it be, is it accessible through a website eventually, or how
It
does-
will, at some point it will be, but as of now, because of the program we use and the program they use and the program USAR uses, they're not the same, but we have a lovely lady, Amy Hoyt, that's working on this to migrate that information from one end to the other. And as far as looking at damage from Captiva compared to Sanibel, Captiva is a cakewalk compared to what you guys have. From Blind Pass down to the east end, it's very bad.
Sir, can you state your name, please?
Nick Melchior?
Ellen Kenner.
You speak up.
A little louder, please, Dan.
Oh, Ellen Kenner from Sundial.
Ellen Kenner.
My concern is when you said alligators and snakes, you're out there, so many people are out there. Is there any way to bypass the environmental things and just kill them or do something to them?
I hate to tell you this, but they hide just as well as anything
Okay,
else.
but if you can find them, can you do something for your own safety?
Yes, for my own safety, I have no problem doing it. Or my guys, I really have no problem.
snakes.
And I will deal with that later. I don't.
There's a lady over on the right-hand side that has a question.
Nancy Cadu, I'm wondering, are you able to put carts on roofs where need be?
I would tell you that would be probably almost impossible in most of your houses. With all the mud that's around there, I can guarantee you I'll have more of you falling off of roofs than anything else. No, the city doesn't do that stuff.
The condo, which is the section you don't park.
And I'm not part of the city. I mean, you guys pay me as a special district, but as
Bill.
I can speak for the city says.
Thank you.
Well, I need to talk.
Yeah.
We have evacuated over 1,000 people in the last 5 days.
Wow. How many?
1,000.
1,000. Gonna repeat, evacuated over 1,000, which is about double of what we had numbers
Yes.
for last night, so thank
We
you.
did our calculations, and what we determined is very close to 1,000. So there were that many people stayed, and it has taxed our resources beyond belief for the first 3 days, searching and rescuing and getting people off the island. My guys have been working every single day. All of my guys have been working. So.
I know the work that you've been doing. I've seen faces of all of those guys and the dedication that they have. So I understand that job had to be done. And we also know you've been wearing many hats. You've been feeding, you've been watering to a certain point.
Yeah.
And it took away, from the resources that we needed you to be doing your job. But I know you guys have been just soldiering on, and thank you very much.
And just so you know, it's what you pay all of my guys to do, but that's what they do. Also, as far as the county, you guys have not given us any of the resources we've asked for. I've been denied on every term.
I'm sitting after the meeting.
So I had to get my own radios. I asked for Mark 6 radios, didn't get them. I asked for 3 days, didn't get them. Those things are promised to us in these meetings that we sit in all the time. Hey, you'll have all these resources. I ask, and they were denied. I ended up calling my Motorola person who just delivered all my radios to me in the parking lot. So she got them privately for me, and I paid for them out of your tax dollars. So the other thing is, I've had other resources that I've asked for, and they just keep getting turned down. I asked for 1 refrigerator.
Thank you.
So, it's just one of those.
Bill, let's get that, let's get that list. Let's talk to the county commissioner. Yep, thank you.
Can I ask a follow-up question?
We're going to move on with this, and they're going to have
I don't
to.
see how we're going to move on when we were just told that the city and the county are coordinating, and that's a level of coordination. And frankly, having been involved in crisis recovery before, the communication, the structure, as little information as we have, needs a massive upgrade. With all due respect, all the work that's going on. You've got a whole bunch of people who are just looking for some structure and not for the self-congratulatory, we're doing a lot of work. Because we understand that and expect it and appreciate it, but we need better communication.
Thank you. And you know what? I know from the city end, I can say that we have been working very well with these agencies together. The Sanibel Captiva Fire is a separate district, a separate taxing district.
But we can't afford that.
But that is a separate taxing district, but I do believe that we have been coordinating well together. Thank you, sir. We're going to move on with the meeting.
We expect better communication.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. You'll have the opportunity maybe at the end of the meeting. We've got to move on this meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you. Dana?
Thank you, Mayor.
Yes.
I want to move on to the discussion that we've had for the last several days about access to the island. And so this access plan that we've been working on,
If we could have it quiet in here, if you'd like to take your conversation outside, thank you. It's a lot to cover here. Thank you very much. City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. So the access plan that we've developed, our council members, some of them are hearing this for the first time because 4 of them were on the island doing inspections today with the safety, structural safety team, and the mayor was at the EOC and completing other work. So there might be adjustments to the plan that I talked to you about today, and if we do make adjustments, they will happen quickly. Access to the island, we anticipate that residents will begin to access their properties by private watercraft beginning Wednesday, October 5th, that's this week, between the hours of 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. Watercraft cannot land at the city's boat ramp as is being used for emergency purposes. As it stands now, the city will not be providing boat service to the island or shuttle service on the island for people who might land there on their own watercraft. So here are the conditions for accessing the island. Curfew. Effective October 5th, the city's curfew will be in effect. The hours of the curfew will be 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. Sanibel Police, supplemented by other law enforcement agencies and the National Guard, will stop anyone out during those hours and conduct field interviews. Anyone who is on Sanibel between the hours of 7 p.m. and 7 a.m. are subject to law enforcement. 60 troops from the National Guard arrived on Sanibel today. They were airdropped onto the island, and they're setting up their base camp in the area of the Sanibel School. During the day, beginning Wednesday, October 5th, residents, business owners will be allowed to return to the island between the hours of 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. to inspect their properties, remove personal property, and remove wet drywall, etc., carpet that you might want to remove from your property. As the chief just said, it's dangerous there. And I'm going to cover that at the end, but I want to say that is up front. It's dangerous out there. Field interviews will be conducted by law enforcement and the National Guard, and the specific checkpoints include the following. Neighborhoods. Field interviews will be conducted at entrances to neighborhoods. This allows law enforcement to help ensure people entering those neighborhoods are residents or business owners or their authorized agents. So we're not going to be able to stop everybody from going in, but we will have checkpoints, and people will have to provide IDs that show that they belong in that neighborhood. Residents must have a Sanibel Hurricane Reentry Pass or a Florida driver's license showing a Sanibel address when they're on the island as your ID. Many people, I think we gave out over 1,000 hurricane passes before the storm arrived. So most residents should have their hurricane reentry passes. Owners of residential properties with a permanent Sanibel address or out-of-state permanent address who currently do not have a hurricane reentry pass may come to this hotel, the Crown Plaza Hotel, which is our temporary city hall, in this room, the Sanibel room, to get a pass. In order to get a pass, they would need proof of residency by providing a government ID showing that their address is on Sanibel, and we will verify that if they're property owners with the Lee County Property Appraiser's site. That's the same condition that we have if we were at City Hall getting a pass. We're not changing the process. We'll try to simplify it a little bit. People who are renting property on the island will need to bring a rental agreement or a utility bill, something that shows that they reside at an address, along with a government ID that can verify that they live there. Business owners must have a valid Sanibel Hurricane Reentry Pass. Sanibel business owners that do not have a Hurricane Reentry Pass can come to the Crown Plaza Hotel beginning tomorrow to get a pass, and you must present a 2022 or a 2023 business tax receipt to receive a pass. Contractors must have a valid Sanibel Commercial Hurricane Reentry Pass or be accompanied by a resident or a business owner who has a reentry pass. We know some folks will need help, So we know that you might bring somebody with you on your boat or on a boat that you rent to get to the island, but you will need to be with an authorized person. Anyone who's on the island to assist a business or residents must be accompanied by a city resident, property owner, or business owner. The canals. If vessels are going to enter the canals to access their property, they will be checked by law enforcement before they go in, and they will have to show a hurricane reentry pass or an ID, otherwise they'll be turned away. An ID showing that they are Sanibel resident. Barge access points. At this point, no private barges may access the island unless it's authorized by the city manager or the manager's designee. And one of the reasons for this is that as we said today, we're not accustomed to having barges on our island, and we're bringing emergency equipment so we can get the island cleared and restored, some of those critical infrastructures. People can call City Hall and can talk with me or Steve Chapel or others to see what our needs are, but we will be coordinating that with people who have already contacted us saying that they might have a barge to access the island. Vehicles on island. When private barges are allowed to land, we're going to restrict vehicles that can be brought onto the island, and those will have to be authorized by the manager or representative before bringing them on. Some of those are because of the hazards that are on the island, the nails, until we get the roads swept. There'll be plenty of flat tires and nobody to repair those, so we need to be careful in how we're bringing that on. I want to say that watercraft owners entering the canals are entering at their own risk. We do not know what hazards exist in the canal. You just heard the commissioner say that in the bay there are plenty of hazards that boats can hit. Your typical navigable routes to and from the island might be obstructed and you just won't be able to see it. People accessing homes, businesses, and the city of right-of-way areas also do so at their own risk. The Urban Search and Rescue Team, which Chief Briscoe was talking about, completed surveying all of the structures on the island today. We also had a city team of inspectors that went out and looked at the east end, which had already been completed by the Urban Search and Rescue Team. The data from the Urban Search and Rescue Team has been received by the county, as Chief Briscoe said, and their GIS department is taking that information so it can be put in a format that we can use. Once we can get that information, it will be posted on the city's website. The majority of the structures on the island, based on the limited information that I've seen, shows that the majority of the structures are unsafe to enter. Tomorrow, the city's structural safety team and the National Guard will work to post notices on each structure. So if there's a structure like this that says unsafe, it means it's unsafe to enter and you should not enter it. Sorry, to the camera, Steve tells me. You might also have a limited access, which means that you should be careful as you go into that. There are very few on the map, very few green dots, which means that the structure did not have any water or structural damage. We can provide no guarantee that these will stay on the structures. It could be wind damage, wind blowing, it could rain, it could knock them off, people could take them off. So once we post this information on the website, anybody who has any plans to take their watercraft and go to the island should look at that website and see what category and rating your property has before you try to access it. It's your responsibility to do so. We're going to provide you with the information that we can, but we've pivoted with our plans to have a structured reentry to the island because so many residents want to go see their property, and we understand that. But we can't provide you with a safe environment. As soon as I mentioned this, the list will be posted. So to state it again, watercraft entering the canal, you do so at your risk. Anybody going to their property, walking in the city's right-of-way, you do so at your own risk. As Chief Briscoe said, wildlife, including alligators, they have been displaced from the habitats that they typically meander through, and they could be anywhere on the island. I know when I was on the island, I saw alligators crossing the road that you would never see generally in daytime. So please take caution if you go to the island. There is limited ability, as the chief said, for fire and rescue to respond to injured persons on the island. And this morning, when I was meeting with council members, one of them said to me, statistically, more injuries happen after a disaster than during the disaster. The chief said that there are many sharp objects, there's lots of things that you can hurt on, you try to climb on something, it looks like something might be solid and it shifts. So again, you need to be very careful if you enter any of the properties that are there. The fire department will, today they made arrangements so they could move an ambulance and a Polaris back onto the island so they can respond to any medical emergencies, but it will be very limited. There is no cellular communication on the island, so you won't be able to pick up the cell phone and call 911 and say, please come get me, I'm injured, or my friend is injured, I'm at this location. We heard you, we know you want to respond, we're going to provide this to you. It might be changed a little. My council members are just hearing this for the first time, so bear with us while and the structure of how you can access the island will be published on our website. Yes, sir.
If I may.
Yes, please.
Most of you know what my experience has been. We've been on the island, all of us have been on the island. This is unbelievable in respect to trash, in respect to debris, in respect to hazard. I don't give a damn about alligators or snakes. That's not the hazard. There's some of them out there maybe, but that's not the hazard. These buildings are unsafe, the ones who have been designated unsafe. I've been in lots of different disasters, from hurricanes to 9/11. You're not experienced on this kind of activity, so you have to be very careful. It is very dangerous out there. There's debris everywhere against your houses. You can't get around it. You can't get behind the houses. It's going to be very difficult for you to navigate in those buildings. You've got to have the right kind of shoes. There are plenty of nails. We don't want any kind of punctures and disease associated with nails. You got to be careful on stepping over lumber and stepping over trees. We don't want anybody to break their ankles or necks because nobody's going to be there to save you. So you have to be extremely careful. Anybody who cannot handle that kind of environment, the heat and all the debris, you shouldn't go. You can hire somebody or work with somebody to do that. You should not go. You got to have gloves. You got to have
goggles.
I would say safety glasses, safety shoes if you're going to be out there. This is serious. It was my statistic. I've seen them all, and we lose more lives. We have more injuries associated with dealing with the disaster, the aftermath. That's what we want to prevent. We don't want to lose another life. So please be careful. Please be aware of where you are. Please be aware of your capabilities. If you cannot handle that, and believe me, it is extreme. Everybody here will believe that and has seen that. If you're not able, if you don't feel comfortable, do not go and have somebody else do it in your stead, according to the city manager. We don't want to lose another life. And if anybody's injured, nobody's going to be there to help you. There's nobody to call. There's no resource. And you may sit there and bleed out if you're handling glass and it cuts your wrist or cuts your neck. I've seen that happen in these kinds of circumstances. We don't want anybody to be in that circumstance. Thanks.
And I would like to add, I would suggest you don't go alone. You should have somebody with you to go. You're seeing some of the streets in the pictures, and some of them are okay. Some of the subdivisions, the roads are dry. That might not. When you get on that property, it's a whole different situation. When you get in that silty mud, it is like a skating rink. I would suggest walking sticks if you're going to go, because you are going to need the support. I mean, I already started thinking about what list I could have for safety provisions, because it's that dangerous when you're out there. Don't underestimate it. Some of you might not have the problem in some of your areas, but most of you will. And so just be smart. I mean, we have listened, like Dana said, we've listened, we've changed the plan, we're getting you out there, and now we want to make sure that you come back alive too. So, John, thank you very much for that. With that, any other, Scott, I know you had a comment. These guys were out there on the ground today, so Scott, please go ahead.
So I have more than one comment, so bear with me that it'll be a few minutes. Where Councilman Henshaw is not going to toot his own horn, but this man was the director of OSHA during 9/11, so he knows what he's talking about. So listen. When you go over, and I was there today with the structural safety team, it is super dangerous. East Gulf, Middle Gulf, West Gulf, there's debris everywhere. Glass, metal, slippery mud, water, there is stuff everywhere. As a practical matter, based on the preliminary data, East, Middle, and West Gulf, they're almost all going to be unenterable. Just heads up, okay? The final data will be published, but don't be surprised. And that's not us determining that. We have nothing to do with that. The federal government sent search and rescue teams in to evaluate the buildings. This is what they do. They are experts. They respond to disasters and post buildings, fine, maybe okay, not okay. And the red signs mean do not enter. They're not okay. I did go and look at a dwelling because I was with the structural inspection team. When you go to a dwelling and you open the slider, if it's you have a basement, you have a raised house, and there's concrete floor or tile floor, that floor is covered with the skating rink of silt, and it's mud and it's still wet because it hasn't dried out. Okay, so it's slick as anything. If you're not prepared, you're going to step on that and you're going to fall right away. You're going to break something, you're going to cut something, you're going to knock your head open. So you better be careful. If you're not in perfect health, do not go. Your health and your safety is much more important than your possessions. Dying is not worth it. When you get in there, you touch the drywall, if it's wet, it falls off in your hand. If you're watching online from up north and someone's telling you they're going to go in for you and they're going to bring power tools and generators and all this stuff, it's completely unnecessary. You can just pull it off with your hand with gloves. So they don't need to send in, heavy machinery or anything. And you should not be sending in generators, because if that generator catches fire, it'll burn your house down, it'll kill you, it'll burn your neighbor's house down. So you cannot do that. And you don't need to do that. I was there. I saw it with my own eyes. I touched the drywall. You can just pull it out by hand. The rate limiting step is going to be your physical ability to carry it out to the pile in your yard where you put it. That's the rate limiting step. I'm not a construction person. I'm not an expert. I'm just a lay person, and I'm going to do this myself. But I'm going to wear gloves, safety glasses, boots, and do everything that Mr. Henshaw said. You've heard from the fire chief that we've lost 3 houses to fire. Sorry. And despite rumors to the contrary and something posted online to the contrary, I don't think Captiva Island is actually open, so just be aware. People are being turned away. And lastly, I want to thank our city staff. Again, they have been here since before the storm. They have families, spouses, they have homes. Most of them don't live on Sanibel. We do. We have lots at stake. They work for the city of Sanibel. They're loyal employees. They're passionate about Sanibel. They work for government salaries, and they've been here working their butts off. And I'll just, just to give you an idea of who's up here on the 3rd floor doing all this work, and I'm not going to mention it. I'm not going to remember every name. It's going to be terrible names. Dana, Steve, Scotty Lynn, Crystal, Brian, Bert, Anna, all the police dispatchers, the police chief, Craig, Holly, Paula, Dana, Rachel, Jocelyn, Bill, and there's many others who have been here, many of them continuously. The city managers had to tell some of them, you need to go home and rest yourself. You've been here for 16 hours. 3 days in a row, you need to go home and rest. These people are superheroes, and they're helping us. They're doing this for us, and they don't live on Sanibel. And they're just doing this because they believe in the Sanibel plan and the vision of what Sanibel can be in our community. That's it. I'll stop
Thank
now.
you, Scott.
Thank you.
Vice Mayor.
I'd like to echo what my fellow council members have said, along with the other speakers. Commissioner Ruane, thank you very much for being here. I know it was a challenge to get out. Let me take a deep breath as I tell you, I have seen pictures of my homes. My whole family lives on the island. I have seen pictures of my business. The aerial photographs that you can see on the satellite images, they're very good, they're very clear. Let me tell you, the pictures that are taken on the ground paint a very different story. My business is a total loss. My focus is here with the residents of Sanibel and the business people of Sanibel. The family has already met. We will rebuild. However, that's going to take some time. The reason I mention it to you is I don't need folks to feel sorry for me. I don't need anybody to feel sorry for anybody. My message to you is listen to the people that have facts. Commissioner Ruane mentioned it. You've heard it from our mayor. You've heard it from our city manager. We cannot operate on hearsay and what's published on the internet by somebody that doesn't know. We need to listen to the experts that are trained in this. Councilman Henshaw has dealt with this numerous times. You heard his credentials. I'm familiar with his credentials. He knows what he's talking about. He's been there and he's seen it. Seen it. Please listen to what the experts are telling us. Listen to the experts that are boots on the ground and they've seen it themselves. I know we think we can move mountains. I am a person that doesn't stand by and watch things happen. I'm a person that gets involved and helps make things happen. I am staying off the island other than when I am asked to be there so that I can be here to help make things happen. The cautionary words that you've heard from the experts, the cautionary words that you've heard from the council members, take them very seriously. It's not worth risking your life or that of your family for stuff. And at this point, and I have a lot of stuff out there, it's all stuff. So please, please listen. Look at the information and the data that's going to be provided before Wednesday morning at 7 a.m. Have a plan. Make sure you've referred to the data so you can tell what your building, structure, business, home, whatever it is, what condition the USART team is. These people go all over the world doing this. They know what they're doing. They know what structures look like. They know when they're dangerous. They know when it's limited access may be available. And they also know what access will be available there. Each individual residence, every address on Sanibel is listed on that information. The County of Lee. By the way, folks, we're Lee County. We're the city of Sanibel, but we're part of Lee County. And despite what anybody says, the County of Lee and the city of Sanibel are going to continue to work together in a cooperative manner for the best interest of all of us. We need everybody working together, just like this. When we splinter and we go off and start doing our own thing, that's when we begin to run into trouble. That's when we begin to tax resources that are already taxed beyond their limits. I can't make this clear enough to you. I understand. I understand you need to get to your structures so that you can remediate the drywall that's at the lower level, so you can stop what's coming. My past life before I got to Sanibel was disaster support services. You probably don't know that, but I've been there. I've done this before. It's critically important that we follow the process, we follow the leadership and direction of the city manager, that we continue to use the resources of Lee County as well as the city of Sanibel so that we can make good decisions. Once again, once that data is uploaded and made available to the public, make sure you look at that. Make sure if you make arrangements to go to the island that you're actually going to be able to go into the structure. I plan to be part of the search and rescue team tomorrow that goes out along with National Guard and the other SSI members so that we can set that identification up as well. Look at the map. I want to end with, I want to thank everyone that has been patient. I want to thank everyone that has trusted in the process. I want to thank everyone that has listened to the experts and helped us move this forward. This is beyond anything we've ever seen. And I hope to God this is the only time that I see this in my lifetime. Thank you.
You know what, we're going to keep on. What he just said, social media, we've seen what's being said. We've heard some of the things in this room. We're not going to let you splinter us, because we are a unified front. We have been from the start. We've been working with the county. So don't let those voices get in and tell you that we're not, because we are. And just because you don't hear what we're saying every 25 minutes, know that in this disaster, we are doing the work. We haven't stopped 24/7 since before the storm, during the storm, and after the storm. And we're all here. We're all volunteers, and we're volunteers to build our city back. And that's what we're going to do. You want to be part of the solution? Be a part of the solution. I'm not going to listen to those that want to be part of the problem and not let us go forward. So I really want to thank everybody. I'm looking out here. We've got an audience, man, that we haven't seen since Charlie, I think. Since Charlie, and many of us were in this room. Marty, you were up here talking to us. Kevin, you were in the audience, raising your hand. We got through it, and we're going to get through it again. And our island, it's going to be a lot longer road, but we're going to get through it together. And we have an opportunity. We're answering questions. We're listening. We have changed this direction in a few days because we needed to, we should, and we are. So reach out to us. We are all available pretty much 24/7. Everybody's running on empty right now. We all know what you're thinking about too. You want to get home. And we want you to get home, and we've given you the opportunity. Help us be part of that solution. So with that, Mike, did you have any comments that you wanted to make?
No, I just want to thank you and John and Richard and Scott for your comments, and I totally support them. So
Thank you very much. With that, do I have public comment? And do you want some closing?
No, I have nothing else to say, except when we do public comment, we should manage it like a council meeting. And
I will manage it.
Come to the podium. They have 3 minutes.
Okay. We are going to take public comment. There is a 3-minute maximum that you can speak. It doesn't mean you need to use it all. And I'm going to start on the right side of the room. When you come up here, state your name and your address. And I will cue you when that 3 minutes is up. And I will respectfully ask you to let the next speaker take their turn. Yes, sir? Oh, yeah, and we can go back and forth. Are you? Yep, sure. I'm very comfortable. I think we're going to go outside of our... Yeah, on the right-hand side of the room. Ron.
Yeah, that's me.
Nice to see your face.
Good seeing you, young lady.
Oh, thank you.
I'm Ron Rich from Mudbugs. Mr. Smuckers of Smucker Jelly is offered to bring frozen crustless peanut butter and jelly sandwiches out to anybody that needs it. From my owner, Ron Rice. I can get with you on that, Billy, if you want. Sheriff Dalton, excuse me. So, anything I can do, we can maybe set up somewhere for you. with water and peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. They're frozen when they come in. Just got to figure out how to get them from the island from where they come in. So just let me know. I think you have my number.
I think I do.
Yeah, okay. That's
Okay.
all I got, and congratulations. Good job so far.
We're getting there. Thank you. Continuing on the right-hand side, I'm sweeping. Yeah, the lady all the way in the back that spoke earlier with the dark, yeah, you. I'm sorry. Yes, you. I'm sorry. You need to come up to the podium, please. State your name and address for the record.
Ellen Kenner, Unit Q202.
Speak
Elliot, you're going to have to speak up very loudly.
Ellen Kenner, Unit 2Q02, Sundial. I want to thank you so much for the details that you, John, gave and that you, Ron, gave. We had an aerial view of our home at Sundial. It looked great from NOAA. When we were here, we saw that our unit was completely blown out. An 18-inch wave hit it, and it's sick, nothing in it. So I'm saying that they are right, and the danger, I think, is really important. I'm a clinical psychologist, and I have worked with more traumas than, not as many as you, but many, many. And taking that risk for stuff, I totally applaud. My question is,
yes, ma'am.
The legal liability. If you're allowing people on the island, I don't want people suing if they're making decisions independently, autonomously. I don't want people then suing Sanibel or Lee County for any damage. I think that they own that responsibility. And I don't want, and I also hate that people would put you at more risk.
Okay, so the question was the legal liability that could be on the city if someone is injured or hurt if they go to their unit, whether it's yellow or orange or whatever color it is. And I'm going to turn to our city attorney.
United States of America, anybody can sue anybody about anything, anytime. That's the truth of the matter. But I think that you have heard very clearly from every single person up here, and you will hear it from A to Z. It is unsafe out there. The city is providing you with information, discouraging you to go, encouraging you to read the information that is present there. I would say 80+% of the properties are going to be marked as unsafe. You should heed those warnings. If you don't, and even if you choose to go no matter what, you are going at your own risk.
Thank you, ma'am. The gentleman, in the black shirt, and I've had color problems before, so if I say the wrong color, you're sure. Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm ready. My name's Nick Adams. I've got a business on the island, and like everybody else in here, chomping at the bit to get back on. It helps being here. We've seen all your Facebook Lives, and respectfully, I'm not going to go back to my business because of what you've said. I am right in the centre of the island, so it will mean traipsing across, but I understand everybody's problem here. All our equipment is there. We run a media company. We can't do it without it. I know what everybody's thinking, like you're saying they can't come to these homes, but how about we provide somewhat of a solution and ease people's tensions just by taking some drone footage down the beach? I'm willing to do that for free. I wouldn't be putting the services at risk. I would stay low enough. I'm a qualified paramotor pilot, so I understand heights and everything. We could at least get some quality pictures where these people here can look and make an assessment, and it might make them change their mind as to making that trip out to the island. That's all I've got to say.
I believe the city manager wanted to comment on that, sir.
Thank you, good comment. I talked to you at the end of the meeting about your offer, but I do want to say that the USAR information that we hope to post online will have photos of each property. As the team has visited each property and done their assessment, they have taken a photograph of the property, and so that will be online for people to see. We hope. Again, it has to be transferred out of a format that is different from what we typically use, but that's my understanding.
Okay.
Thank you, Nick.
And if we don't have those photos, then we'll work with you. We have other drone footage. I know the county EOC had, I think it was through Lee County, flew 52 drones after the storm countywide. So but you're talking about a different level of detail.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Doug, and then Barry. I might not know everyone's name.
Thanks,
You're
Doug
sure.
Congress, Sanibel resident. So I want to change gears slightly. That I think a lot of the anxiety that a lot of us have in this room is not knowing what our insurance companies are going to do, whether that's auto or whether that's home. I spoke to Chris Heydrich this morning, and Chris would like to put together a team of people to come and speak to this group and give them a general idea as to what our options are. I know it's outside of the scope of the city, but I would hope that you would embrace that and maybe include that in some sort of a special meeting where we can have a Q&A. Everyone has a different policy other than flood. I think we all have that same issue, but I think that would be helpful. The other comment is, and just to show the frustration, is I was told today I was the very first person to put in a claim with Travelers for my autos, for my cars, because I was stupid enough to be on the island. So I could take pictures and do those type of things to submit a claim. I've been waiting now 4 days to get any information on paying out that claim because they keep insisting on they have to come out to the island, they have to take my car, they have to take pictures, and so forth. So these are the things, and I'm only giving this for information. You can't do anything about it, but we have to figure out a way to work through some of these once-in-a-lifetime issues that insurance companies are putting us in. We need to figure out a way to get paid. And that's, if Chris Heydrich can help out with providing that information, or whoever, I would hope the city can help.
And I agree. I spoke to Chris the day after the storm, and he said he's ready to come down, or any of them if there was a group that wanted to work together. I know we've got great relationships with the people on the island, and he's absolutely said, "You're ready to have me? I'm ready to come." He is safe in his other home and wanted to wait to come down until that need was, and it's here. Thank you. Barry.
For the record, Barry Roth. First, I want to thank everyone here that's been working so hard for all of us. And your recommendations for me are strong, and I plan to follow them. That said, I believe Doug stole a little bit of thunder from what I was going to address. But in addressing that, I am hopeful that being put out for information will be exactly or similar to what you've said about the dangers, so that I have spoken with my insurance carrier, and as you know, probably everyone knows, you're supposed to go out, take photographs of what's damaged, and even if you have an A sticker, a green sticker, who wants to go out and endanger themselves to get to your residence? Many of us are permanent residents. Like many people, I've lost everything. And, excuse me, but I really hope that you can make a list of why it's so unsafe. Not why, but a list of it is unsafe. Because I'm going to, like many other people, I'm sure, fight with our carriers. I mean, flood's going to say it's wind is going to say it's fire, and then you get into this proverbial, excuse the expression, urinating contest of who's responsible. And it's extremely frustrating, and even making a claim for FEMA is impossible, I believe. I was looking at it online, and I was denied access, so I made a phone call, and they said, these are the list of things you need, and it was a recording. And then it says, we will get back to you, hold on the line, and we will reach out to you in so many words in 77 minutes. Yet they said you have to complete this information, and it will take you approximately 25 to 30 minutes.
Barry, so your
number.
question is just information about safety,
Yeah, I'm sorry to go
insurance?
on.
That's okay. Hey, that seemed green. There we go. We're almost at yellow. You got a little while left.
Okay.
No, you don't
but you don't have to take
You don't
it.
have to take it, Barry.
Okay, I want to again thank you all, and I would heed your recommendation.
Thank you.
Last question I have, for those who are going to go out, is there a point
Could
where
we keep it quiet so we can hear what he's saying, please? Thank you.
for those who are going to risk going out on their vessel, is there a point, one, that they should embark so that the city has an indication if they are a resident? Number two, can some of these people, which they may, anchor in the Gulf, if they live on the Gulf, and say, oh, my place, I got a green dot to go ahead, can they anchor in the Gulf at their own risk and not be, and not show their residential sticker or things like that? So I'm just asking that for information in case anybody's foolish enough to do that, to go out. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Barry. Okay, continuing on, sweep in the room.
Right.
The lady right in front and then the lady right behind her, okay? Oh, no, I'll take you because the other lady put your hand up. Nope. Yes. Yeah, that's you.
Come on.
You.
Can we suggest that people that want to speak get in position to save time?
That would be great.
That'd be great. Line up over there.
Line up.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Vice Mayor.
Please speak up.
Okay, yes. My name is Terza Althouse. I'm the postmaster of Sanibel. I just want, first of all, thank you. Thank you for all the information. Second of all, please, from the bottom of my heart and from all of my employees at the post office who are all safe. They are very concerned about their residents. They love each and every one of you. Real quickly, we are setting up, I'm changing everything we've been talking about, insurance and everything. We are setting up mail distribution at the 6 Mile Post Office, 6 Mile Cypress Post Office on 6 Mile Cypress Parkway. It's by the orange juice factory just past the Walmart.
Okay.
Give us a few days, if you can, to organize your mail. Just about every one of your mail carriers are working there trying to get the mail sorted. Obviously, we can't deliver any mail, but we will have it sorted for you so that you can come and pick up your most important mail. We're not going to give you your Costco magazines. It's not that important right now, but if you have, we know Social Security checks came out if you don't have direct deposit, and your medications and your important packages. Our processing plant, which is out by the airport, is not accessible to the public. Please don't go out there looking for your mail. They are working on generators right now. Hopefully they get power soon. We are working on generators at 6 Mile Cypress. So you will be able to pick up your mail at 6 Mile Cypress. If you are no longer going to be receiving mail at your address on Sanibel, please come to the office at 6 Mile Cypress or go online to USPS.com if you have the ability and fill out a change of address for your new address, temporary address, whatever it may be. We are working on creating temporary post office boxes for those of you that are not going to have another address to go to. In the meantime, please come see us at the post office. I'll be there. Your carriers are working diligently, but it's taking us some time to set up. That's where we will be for the foreseeable future.
We look forward to seeing you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank
I have
you.
business cards I will give to you.
Yeah, please do. Thank you.
Thank
Okay, next, ma'am. Ma'am? Yes.
Oh,
No, the other, please. Hi. We'll be done with comment. Thank you.
My name is Wendy Warner. I'm a parish nurse for St. Michael's and All Angels.
Should we keep it, please, quiet, please? Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Just clarification. Now, this database that you're building, one person said Wednesday morning, okay? Because I have parishioners that are out of state that are asking questions, and we're trying to communicate that. So is that database expected to be up Wednesday morning?
We're hoping that we will have it up tomorrow.
Okay, okay.
But the word hope is in there. And
Okay.
So maybe your parents
Well, we
would
can
pray
use
for
that.
us.
We've been saying lots of prayers, so.
Thank you.
The other question is appraisers, because people have been asking what we can do. Can appraisers come on island without them? If they're not physically able or in the location, can appraisers come onto island without the resident?
City manager?
That's a detail, like with some of the contractors, we're still gonna work, we need to work through with law enforcement, and we'll probably take a group, which is what I had mentioned at a different time, try to organize that so we can get people out there together, or have different IDs that we can provide them, so when they go around the island, our police and Army National Guard will know that they're allowed to be there.
okay? Because we have a lot of people who just headed north.
Understood.
Yep.
We do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? We are queuing up. So if you could come stand over here in line, sir, go ahead.
Hi, Basil Wardowski, 1350 Middle Gulf Drive.
Hi, Basil.
Despite some voices in the audience, I think most of us are in awe of what you're doing and the information you're providing, and I thank you. Can't thank you enough for that. My simple question, if we are going to take drywall out of our lower levels, if we're going to be brave and do that, which I understand, would you, I assume you do not want it piled at the street. I assume you want it on our properties away from the street for the time being, but I thought I should ask that because there are going to be people doing that and we don't want it to be in your way.
Generally, the debris is to be hauled curbside. There's a lot of debris already on the curbside. So I would just say put it out where you can, and then we'll deal with it as we go with the collection process.
Okay, thank you.
But not in the roadway.
But not in the roadway.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes.
City manager, you want to talk about
Thank you.
separation of debris?
Well,
Another comment that the city manager is going to make on separation. Thank you.
So generally, there's requirements for the collection of debris that you take construction debris like drywall or roof material, and you would put that in one pile, and then you would put your vegetative debris in a separate pile. So when the collectors come through, they can manage that, because commingled debris creates some problems in how we get that out. There's so much commingled debris that we'll wait for our contractor to tell us how we might be able to sort it once they start their operation on the line tomorrow, on the island tomorrow. So if you go out there on Wednesday, I would say find a spot, try to pile all your construction debris in one place. It's going to be a challenge.
Good.
If I would add, all hazardous material, also segregate the hazardous material.
Great point.
Gas
Thank
and
you.
fuel and that sort of thing.
Yes.
Really quick. Gary Rasta, 1212 Sandcastle. Thank you very much for all the updates today. Can we start volunteering on Wednesday? Do you have a plan of how you want to enact volunteers? Because I almost just want to help the community. So if you, as long as you have a plan and maybe some type of an ID so that we can not take up resources of people constantly checking. So just a thought. I'd love to get going on some grunt work out there.
Thank you for that very much. Any other questions? Okay, yeah. Sorry, thank you.
Hi, I'm Michael Fallon. I live on Churchill Gate Lane on Sanibel. Been through Charlie, now face to face, and I apologise for coming in a bit late to this, and if this has already been stated, so be it. But I just need to be clear for myself and the other 9 people on my street. You're going to publish data tomorrow or Wednesday. Is that a decision point at which people can choose to go on the island, or do we still have to wait for the process of the barges to take us over?
The barges will not take you over, but we will open. On Wednesday if people have personal watercraft boats, or you hire somebody to take you out, then that's how you would have to get there. You would not be able to land at the city boat ramp.
All right, that's good. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
And I'll just make a comment to your city manager. You're for the baptism of fire on this island. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And it is his first year anniversary this week. Happy anniversary. Yes, sir. Hi. Hi.
Paul Tritat, 1807 Serenity Lane.
Okay, we still have public comment. Thank you.
Paul Tritat, 1807 Serenity Lane, Sanibel. First of all, like others have expressed, thank you so much for all of you.
Speak louder, Paul. Can't hear you. It doesn't work.
Just yell. Thank you so much for all of your leadership. There you go. I really appreciate all the hard work, leadership, and the staff, and everything that you all are doing. I can't thank you enough. It means the world to us. I know that everyone's trying under the worst conditions and unprecedented conditions. I only have one question. Is Wednesday the only opportunity for people to get out to the island?
No.
Okay.
It will be. We might have an end date that we have not selected yet, but you'll be able to go out daily between those hours of 7 a.m. and 7 p.m.
Daily beginning Wednesday.
Beginning Wednesday.
Correct.
Okay, because I was thinking about a lot of people that are out of town that can't get back by Wednesday.
We understand that.
Right.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Paul, thank you for what Ding's been doing as well.
Well,
Very-
I'm not there anymore.
I
I'm
know,
retired.
I
but
know that, but
know
I
they're
mean,
doing a
you're
great job.
long-term, and we just appreciate you're still part of their heart, so thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Any other further questions for public comment? Yes, sir, with the red cap on. Come on, you need to come up, please, and state your name and your address for the record.
Mark Yelenich, 1555 San Carlos Bay Drive. Just to clarify, so I know I'm sure I came in a little bit late. So my understanding, please correct me if I'm wrong, and thank you for y'all's service. Beginning Wednesday morning at 7 a.m., you'll allow private boats to go to and from
Please,
Sanibel.
could we keep it down in the audience, please? Thank you, in respect to others.
You'll allow private boats to go to and from the island to private docks between the hours of 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. So we can be on at 7 and off by 7.
That's correct.
That is correct.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any further questions? Ma'am, with the orange and the baseball cap.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
State your name, please.
My name is Teresa Russell.
Teresa Russell?
We live at 1528 Angel.
1528 Angel.
Yes,
And if
ma'am.
you could speak a little louder so everyone gets
It's
that.
not working.
It's not.
Oh, I never had that problem. So Teresa Russell, 1528 Angel Drive.
Thank you.
I just wanted to say we are so grateful for the work that you did planning. We are just so absolutely impressed with this. I've been part of the Northridge earthquake preparedness in California, and you should be very pleased with the work you've done. And we get your iterating, but thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Any further questions? We've got one. Any further in the audience? Okay, thank you.
Ed Jarmus, 682 Pirula. Just a question based on what the other gentleman said, where you could, starting Wednesday, dock your boat on at a dock or a pier. Can you beach it as well, I assume?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, you can beach it.
Okay. And then there was this question about an end date. So is there going to be like a slot between Wednesday?
That has not been determined yet. The city manager stated we're starting on Wednesday, but the end date has not been determined. And we certainly, if there are people that are out of town, out of state, most are, then I'm sure accommodations are going to be made so they can get into their properties as well, or have an assigned come in to
And
take
then
a
the other
look.
question was, I heard the 7 a.m., 7 p.m. for arrival and departure, but if we wanted to stay for 3 days, we have to leave the island every
That is
day and
correct.
motor back?
That is correct, sir.
Okay, that to me sounds like an extra level of not only complexity, but safety. Not to
And
be
we are
able-
looking out for your safety, sir. That's why we're enacting a 7 in the morning to 7 at night, and you will have to depart at 7 at night.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Lillian Barroso. I'm representing my parents, Louis and Carmen Barroso, on 537 Lighthouse Way. I think you've addressed it. I think there's a lot of people here that may not have private boats. I'm in the process of trying to locate someone with a private boat. Again, please forgive me for asking again, what kind of accommodations that might come up with those that don't have that ability to get on the island?
We are actually trying to do a call out for potential captains that might be available. I don't have that information quite yet, but I know there might be the availability, and I'll get back to you now that we know a date and time. We'll get your name at the end, and we'll see what we can do. Okay? Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Because we have to remember, there's liability for people using their boats as well. So that's something that we've really got to consider when we're asking you to do so. Dana, did you want to comment on that any further?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Hi, TJ Spinks, 1665 Sable Palm. First, I'd like everyone thank you. Secondly, does anyone know, or is there a way to find out and post the closest functioning boat ramps to Sanibel? Because I know several people who either don't live in the area or have their boats trailered in the area will come down and help out and put the boats in.
I don't. I know that a lot of the boat ramps are being used for emergency purposes, so I don't know of any that are open for general public. There's also many that have been damaged as well and are not accessible.
Is it possible to try to find out, post it?
If we find one that's open to the public, we will post that, but there's none to mine that I know of right now.
Sir, a question in the back. You come up forward, please.
My name is Rob Pales, business owner on the island, 2330 Palm Ridge Road.
Hi, Rob.
Cannot express my confidence in you, not only in what you've done, but going forward. You guys are amazing. I did miss part of the meeting, so forgive me. I have 110 properties that I manage. So those 110 people are looking to me. So that said, coming in late, access to the property, I have boat docks I can go to. Am I only allowed to go to those homes? If not, or if I can go to other homes, am I allowed, how would I get there? Can I bike? Can I walk?
We did.
No cars? If my vehicles are running at my shop, I doubt they are, I can't use them. Correct? But I can go to the island by boat and go to multiple properties to do assessments and take pictures and then get out of there.
You should have either contracts that show that you have a contract with a
I do.
property, or you should have a notarized letter from that, from your client that tells the police and National Guard that where you're going and you have authorization for that.
And I do have that. I heard no tarps, not that I'm putting up tarps, but did you guys say you don't want tarps on the island?
No, that is not what we said.
Okay, thank
We said the city is not tarping.
Okay, so that would beg the question, FEMA will not provide tarps for second homes.
No, we don't know that there is a drop program with the Army Corps of Engineers program, and so we're trying to get details on what's available in our area right now. But you weren't here for Chief Briscoe's comments.
Forgive me.
That providing, getting tarps on structures is going to be very difficult because just in order to access the property, get ladders in place, lifts are impossible.
Thank you very much again. You're doing an amazing job.
Nice to see you, Rob. Thank you. Are there any further questions? Yes, one more. Is there anyone else before I close public comment?
Thank you again. Alicia Galante, 2600 Roosevelt Place, full-time resident. And I know everything is very preliminary and we're addressing what happens now in the next few weeks. I'd like to know, 2 nights ago at the other meeting, we asked about what's going on with the causeway, with their future plans, and it was mentioned that there was no knowledge yet because that was between the county and the engineers. So I'd like an update. Perhaps I maybe missed it. And the second was, what kind, and I'll look, and then I'll follow up with it and listen to the recording. But my other question is then, what about the ferry service? What's going on with any kind of potential passenger ferry?
There is nothing in place at this time. That's a future.
Well, you see, when you discuss the future, I know everyone has been mentioned that we shouldn't expect to get back for a year. And that probably is not doable because I don't live on the water and I can't commute by boat. So when we say it's going to be discussed in the future, can we not form committees to help you? This is a major burden for you all. What about transportation committees? We have a lot of volunteers with brains that can work on things.
Yes, City Manager.
Thank you. So as Commissioner Wayne spoke to this, and I spoke to her briefly, that Florida DOT is working with Lee DOT. They're completing their inspections, and then they're working together for a plan. There were folks that were optimistic when I spoke with them today about what potential options that they might have. So that's the only information that I have on that. The same in regard to ferry service. So ferry services for a large-scale operation is beyond our capacity, but I did speak with DOT officials in Tallahassee today about barge service, ferry service, and so that's a work in progress. So we are working on that, but we don't have anything to announce beyond that.
Thank you. And you know what, I'd like to take a minute because we have a pretty special guest here today that made it in time. Thank you very much. Congressman Byron Donalds is here. And so he's going to give a little
first of all, it's good to be with you. I mean, look, we've been through probably the worst storm our area has ever seen, or or probably will ever see. This storm is catastrophic. We all know that. The question is, what comes now? I'll tell you, I've been in constant contact not only with your mayor and your management team and your members of your city council, but every mayor in Southwest Florida and county leadership in both Collier and Lee County. I have never seen a disaster response like what's happening right now in Southwest Florida. From a federal perspective, we've had great communication and great cooperation between the governor's office and the White House. Florida Department of Emergency Management and FEMA are working hand in hand. I was actually just with Kevin Guthrie, the state director of disaster management for our state, and the FEMA coordinator for Florida. I was just with both of them. One quick announcement, in a couple of days, I believe 2, maybe 3 days, the Disaster Recovery Center, where you can apply not only for FEMA assistance, but also for small business assistance, issues with insurance, etc., will all be at the Disaster Recovery Center. It's going to be open, and we'll put it out officially, but it's going to be located at the Lakes Library on Gladiolus.
Yes. Gladiolus and Bass.
On Gladiolus and Bass. That's where the first site is going to be located. We're already having conversations about additional disaster recovery centers, and the reason why I'm not calling them FEMA villages is not because FEMA asked me not to call them FEMA villages, but the reality is that we're bringing in all of the relevant agencies. The Florida Department of Employment Opportunity is going to be there. The CFO's office is going to have insurance villages there for property and casualty insurance. Small Business Administration is going to be there. They will be bringing low-interest loan assistance for all business owners in the affected areas. Obviously, FEMA from individual assistance, and even other agencies that I can't keep in my mind right now. Specifically to the Sanibel Causeway. I was also with the governor an hour ago, 30 minutes ago, I guess. The governor announced, and something we already know has kind of been happening, is there is the emergency order to build out temporary roadway to replace the sections in the Sanibel Causeway so that we can get car service and truck service to and from Sanibel Island. Because I want to be very specific with you. The same order went out yesterday, and construction started today on the bridge fallout at Matlacha. The Matlacha Bridge is a lot easier to repair than the Sanibel Causeway. So I really want to stress patience with Florida Department of Transportation and the relevant contractors as they go through that process. It is going to be a much more elongated process, but it's going to be far more expedited than the building of a brand new causeway with all the checks and all the bureaucracy and so on and so forth. So please be patient with that one. I was also told earlier today, and actually I just saw the email, and this, again, I know I'm talking with Sanibel residents, so I want you to understand where I'm going with this. The Army Corps of Engineers has just announced they're standing up the Blue Tarp program for residential houses. That just came out 20 minutes ago. Understand, the Army Corps, and I'm not sure what the logistics are to get to Sanibel for the Army Corps yet. If you're taking blue tarps out there, please be careful. Because to properly install them, the debris has to be cleared from your house and your property. You have to have clean roof access. If you have major holes in your roof, it is not what you want to put a blue tarp on, because if it rains, that water will bulge in your roof line, and when it pops, and it will pop, it'll burst into your second story in your attic area, and you'll have more issues than you have right now. The Corps is going to have transportation access to the island if Sanibel residents are going to be able to take advantage of the Blue Roof program. I don't know what those logistics are. They just announced that. Now I get to go back to the EOC and figure out what transportation access is for the Army Corps onto the island. so that we could potentially start the blue roof program on Sanibel Island. So much going on.
I know.
Ferry service. I've been talking with your mayor and your city manager about the ferry service. There are logistical issues with that, namely what dock is available to actually land a ferry. That's a serious infrastructure question that has to be answered. So again, be patient there. The number one thing I want to tell you while you're here on the mainland, if you have web access, go to Jesse, what's the FEMA site right now? Disasterrelief.org or .gov?
There's a league of, I'll pull it up.
Pull it up for me right now. Sorry, guys. We're doing this all on the fly. If you're here right now, you can get FEMA. You can go online with FEMA now, and you can apply for disaster assistance. The number one thing I will stress with you is that where you are getting mail or where you're going to be laying your head, that's the point of contact you have to give FEMA. If you give FEMA your address on the island and you're not there on the island, but you're going back and forth, FEMA's going to restart your application. Now, in my office, once you have your FEMA number, we will work with you to navigate all the steps and the traps with FEMA so you can get your individual assistance, or for the business owners in the room,
We can go to leakgov.storm and you can go to alertly.com. That'll be the emergency notification stuff, and they'll spit it out on there. Do keep in mind, individual first claims have to come from individuals. They can't come through us.
Yes.
So first claims have to come from individuals.
You have to put in your application with FEMA. The congressional office is not allowed to do so. I think it's dumb, but that's their process. You have to put in a claim with FEMA directly. When you have your number, you can contact my office, and then from there, we can assist navigating FEMA's bureaucracy on your behalf. Pull up real quick the FEMA website. It's disaster assistance, disasterassistance.gov, disasterassistance.gov. You can go there, you can begin your FEMA application. While you have internet access after this meeting or whatever you're doing, please start that process immediately. FEMA's taking those applications now. Like I said, when you have that number, you can contact my office.
How do we contact your office?
Jesse, phone numbers.
Collier, you're going to go, and it might be easier to call that one first, 239-252-6225.
239 252
6225. And then let's go.
Hold on. What I want to say is this. It doesn't matter if it's Collier or Lee. Call. We will field the calls.
They're getting picked up through DC right now by our team, so it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter what number you call.
Call the number. Here's the other one. 239-599-6033. Our emergency kits that give us power as a staff down here have yet to arrive. So bear with us, work with us, but call the numbers and we can get you in DC, and then we can get you back out to our offices as things open up and we get power ourselves.
Phone numbers.
And we will put that out.
239.
Yes.
252-6225 is the first one. The second one is 239-599-6033.
And that will come out on our update. So there will be an update from this meeting.
Is that during business hours, like 9 to 5? Or do you know
The DC office is typically open from 8 to 5. But just call, even if you leave a message with that number, my staff is taking that information. We are in full disaster mode. It's really all hands on deck. And we have the ability from other congressional offices to get assistance from other congressional offices, depending on the load, and we know the load is going to be there. Yes, ma'am.
What if we have 3 homes and 2 businesses on for 2 different properties? Do we call for each individual? Yes. Okay.
So for your personal residence and your personal situation, that's one FEMA application.
One altogether.
No.
One each.
Your business property, those are individual applications with FEMA.
Separate LLCs, so.
They're separate businesses.
Okay.
So you got to log them in separately. That's how they're going to take this in. That way you can track each one.
3 homes separately.
If they're all individual homes, personal property, I'm asking, is it, yes, yes? Okay, for that one, my assumption is, I'm saying my assumption is, you can list that all under your personal application with FEMA.
Thank you for clarifying.
Yes, ma'am, yes, ma'am.
When you call, you're gonna want to be able to have not only an address where you're staying, not where you live, okay? You're gonna need your social security number, you're gonna need your birthday, you're gonna need, your EIN if it's actually a business.
Yes.
So have all of that stuff ready, because by the time you actually get somebody on the phone, you don't wanna be looking for it. Okay? So get all of that ready, and they're gonna prompt you through it as you're going. So they're gonna ask you, has anybody here done this yet? Raise your hand. Okay, so you know what I'm talking, they prompt you as you go. So based on your question, they're gonna then send you to the next appropriate question, put you in the right bucket. Start the process now.
Thank you, Jesse.
The only thing I will add is that FEMA will issue a PIN number for you. So you get through all the questions, and at the very end, you think you're going to get your PIN question right then and there. What they do is at that point, they will send you an email where then you have to open the email and click on the email where there will be a temporary PIN number. You have to log back into FEMA, put the username and password you just created, the temporary PIN, then create a new PIN. So don't think that when you get to the end of the process that you're frozen or the system lost you. You have to then go on your email. So you need to have access to your email to get the PIN number, and you have to have
Thank you.
So, real quick, what I want to stress to you is that the 800 number for FEMA is overwhelmed right now. If you have internet access, or if you can get access to the internet, please go to their website and fill it out that way. At least it gets you, it's a lot faster. You'll be able to plug and play with it and then get back to the rest of your day. I really, really stress that. When you have your FEMA application number, please keep it handy. If you need help from us, we can assist you once you have your application in with FEMA and try to help you navigate that process. Those are the. Hold on. It's okay. We got a lot of stuff going on. So those are the big four things I really wanted to bring to you and discuss. Real quick, and I see my colleague Commissioner Ruane is here with you guys as well. Listen, everybody's pulling hard here. We are all pulling hard. Everybody's working hard together. I know sometimes you'll have some bouts of miscommunication. Please understand that what the county governments and city governments are trying to do is, number one, secure the area. Number one, make sure your property is secured. And then also make sure that nobody falls into harm's way in the process as we're trying to navigate through restoring from the disaster. Because we're in restoration mode now. And so we want to make sure that people are safe, that property is safe, and that we can move as quickly as we can to restoring the vital infrastructure that's needed so that everybody can kind of get back on the pathway to rebuilding their lives. So really, really please be patient. If you have questions, do not hesitate to ask. Do not hesitate to call our office with questions. We are on the ground nonstop. Myself, Jesse, Larry, we're running all over the congressional district every day. So, I was on Pine Island today, probably come out your way tomorrow. I know the president's coming Wednesday. There's a lot of stuff happening, but we're in the district. We're making sure that we're available to you guys for whatever you need. So please do not hesitate to ask. I may not have the answer you like. I'll be clear. I may not have the answer you like, but I will get you an answer. What's up?
I just set expectations appropriately. What he just said when he said, if you guys put in your claim you have a problem with FEMA, we can help you. Correct, but the important component to that is, number one, the initial claim has to be completely submitted by you. Then, if you are denied, or you do not get a response within the time that they give you, then we can intercede. Until you have a denial, or that time is elapsed, we don't have something to go smash them with. Those things have to happen, and those initial things have to be done by you individually. Then they ignore you, they blow you off, they deny you, then you can say, hey, Congress who funds them, they're screwing us, and then we can go attack. Can't do it until you put in the initial work. You have to do that.
If you guys haven't noticed from Jesse, he has no problem with going after federal agencies. So he's ready to go. Teresa,
I think what we're all trying to say is that when you're working through the federal government, if you try to hop the line, and this applies probably to Sanibel as well, if you show disrespect and you try to hop the line before you even try to do it yourself through the process that's established, you really lose your credibility. And I think that's really what you're trying to say, is you've got to wait until the FEMA clock tick goes through, and then once it goes through, at that point, then if you're not getting it, that's when your gentleman can help you. That's how I thought it worked.
For everybody who doesn't hear, I'm going to repeat what Teresa said. FEMA is dealing with claims all across the state of Florida. Remember, we were hit the hardest. There is flooding in Charlotte County, DeSoto County, Sarasota County, Orange County, Alachua County, Taylor County, in St. Johns County, and in Duval County, all through the state. There are going to be FEMA requests all through the state. So the number one thing is you have to walk through that first step with FEMA. And once you cross that first step, then we can get involved and advocate for you, because the application will be open for us to engage. If you try to jump the shark, FEMA is gonna cause some problems. And don't get me wrong, we'll iron it out, but it's gonna cause some problems and it's gonna slow you down in the process. So just be diligent, go through that initial work, get in contact with us, and then if there are problems arise, then we can act on your behalf and try to get active and do it. Last thing, this is much more specific for the city itself. FEMA right now has established, and this is not really for residents, it's more for local governments. FEMA has established 30 days for 100% reimbursement for storm-related expenditures. Our office is working to make sure that we extend that from 30 days to 120 days. We're getting the language from Lee County right now to make sure that we have the necessary language to request that from FEMA and from the White House. Right now, the other members of the Florida congressional delegation are 100% supportive in extending that time window. We have other members of the delegation, the Florida League of Cities, the Florida Association of Counties, who are also supportive of getting that window extended. This is important because what it means is that if FEMA extends that window to 120 days, that means Sanibel and Captiva government, the city of Cape Coral, city of Fort Myers, Lee County overall, etc., can be focused on disaster recovery and not start to have some other conversations of where are we getting the money from. So we are on ball with this. And then if you know our governor, he's basically like, we're just going to do what needs to be done and let's just go get it done. So that's where we are right now. I know it's hot. Everybody's trying to recover. We are pushing 100 miles an hour to get back on track. Yes, sir.
Do you know if there's been any assistance for small businesses besides SBA loans?
So I know SBA is going to do low interest. FEMA's going to have, I believe FEMA is going to have a small business portal as well for disaster recovery for small business. What we can do, let's make sure we get back the information. We'll communicate it to Mayor Smith so that can be communicated to all of you. But I know small business is going to have that. They're going to be at the Disaster Recovery Center. But I believe FEMA is also going to have small business assistance as well.
Thank you.
Sure.
All right. Thank you very much, Lee. And with that, we are going to adjourn this meeting.
And Dave talked, he was waiting.
Oh, and insurance.
I was waiting.
He was waiting.
And I talked to
Hold on, Dave.
First, Congressman Donald, I want to thank you for Congress reauthorizing the National Flood Insurance Program, which was supposed to explain.
Dave, Dave, are you asking a question?
No, I was thanking Congressman Donald for
thank you
for reauthorizing the National Flood Insurance Program. Now, thank you very much for your time, your information. I've been talking to insurance carriers, and as you know, things are changing here.
We still have a comment in the audience. We'll give him. He's got 3 minutes, so please.
I told people in this room, that the SSI inspection, then residents, then insurance adjusters, restoration companies. Now, what's come out tonight is the private vessels being able to go out there. I guess my question is, when is the earliest that an insurance adjuster would be able to see the property, because the way I understand it is that if a resident can go out at 7 a.m. on Wednesday, he's not going to have his adjuster with him, but if he did, he would be able to do that. Am I correct by?
That is correct.
Okay, because there is going to be a wave, and I want in my 3 minutes, where there's going to be adjusters that are going to act like they could have driven up in their car and they're going to need transportation out there. But, so that's going to have to be a program that somehow would have to be coordinated.
With the owner, property owner.
Okay, well, I will.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, property owner? Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And you know what? We are adjourned.